Shabbat Shalom. My name is Ilana Ravishaw, and I am the rabbinic intern here at Congregation Kol Ami in West Hollywood, California. That was our always fabulous pianist, Lisa Edwards, welcoming us into Shabbat. I am joined here with Rabbi Max Chaikin and Johanna Shore, one of our members of our board, and Richard Frank. And I don't know about you, but if you can hear my dog right now, he is so excited that it is Shabbat. I can't get rid of my smile because Shabbat is finally here. And we're just so grateful that you are welcoming us into your home as we all can welcome in Shabbat together. We will begin welcoming in Shabbat with a version of Lechuna Ranana that Rabbi Chaikin will sing for us in just a moment. And again, thank you so much for joining us, and Shabbat Shalom.
Page 130 in Mishkan Tefillah, our Reform Movement prayer book. You can find your flipbook version at ccarnet.org. If you Google Mishkan Tefillah flipbook, it might be the quickest way to do that too. Page 130, Lechu Neranena. Come, let us sing out together. Let us greet Shabbat together. Sing out to God. Lechu Neranena. Lai, 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 lai. La Adonai. Lai, 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 lai. La Hariyah. Litzur Hishenu, lai, 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 lai. Let us sing out to God, Maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation, from mountain to sea, hear our song. Lechu Neranena, lai, 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 lai. La Adonai, lai, 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 lai. La Hariyah, lai, 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 lai. Litzur Hishenu, lai, 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 lai. For all of the wonder and all of God's light, we rejoice. So now we will listen with all of our heart to hear God's voice. Lechu Neranena, lai, 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 lai. La Adonai, lai, 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 lai. La Hariyah, lai, 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 lai. Litzur Hishenu, lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. We've had a chance to start greeting Shabbat in song, and now we will greet Shabbat with light, and it is my pleasure and a blessing to invite Richard Frank to light our Shabbat candles tonight. Richard is here with us this week, marking a full year since his cancer diagnosis, and now with the help of doctors and love and luck of this community, Richard is celebrating remission. And so he's lighting our candles tonight, and we'll turn to page 120 and 121 for the candle blessing.
O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and into our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushenu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadnik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And if you are following along at home, the prayer for Kiddush can be found on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha ve'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Chaim to life, Richard.
L'chaim tovim. Thank you, Richard, for lighting our candles tonight and for blessing us with your presence. And now I'd like to offer you a blessing based on the words of tradition. We have a blessing for so many things in Jewish life, of course. And of course, we also have a special blessing for coming through a difficult and dangerous time. And so I offer you this blessing tonight, Richard, a version of Birkat HaGomel, that blessing of compassion. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hagomel lechayavim tovot shegamalcha kol tov. Blessed are you, Eternal One, our God, ruling in all space and time, who has offered to you compassion and all things good. We thank you, O God, who has offered through the wisdom of science and treatment and loving support of community this continued chance for health and healing to our dear friend Richard. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you now and always. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's face to you today and evermore and grant you the gift of peace and wholeness and continued refuah shlema, complete healing. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
We continue now greeting Shabbat as our beloved, greeting Shabbat as our long-lost friend, back with us after a week where we missed Shabbat so dearly. We missed this chance for rest and renewal. Page 138, Lecha Dodi. Please join me in song. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmihanu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad v'shem hu tiferet v'lithilah. Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך ומי אורי. אורי, אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה. תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת מקבלה. We've greeted Shabbat in song, we've greeted Shabbat with light, we've greeted Shabbat as our beloved. Now let's greet our beloved this Shabbat. Please turn to someone you love, online, in person, via text message, however it is that you can reach out to someone and let them know you're thinking of them. Shabbat Shalom, just like we would in our sanctuary in West Hollywood. Please take a moment to do so now. As we move into the next section of our Shabbat service here, we come to our blessing for creation. And I'd like to share this poem, this prayer from our friend Alden Solovy's This Precious Life, as our blessing for Ma'ariv Aravim, for creation itself. This is called About the Heavens. Majestic sovereign, artist of creation, why did you put the stars beyond our grasp? Was it your desire to keep us searching the heavens for luminous spirals, shimmering clouds, rings of glorious light? Was it your plan to summon us, to reach across the vastness, to reach across the darkness and the distance with yearning and hope? Or perhaps once you created the canvas of sky, once you took out your watercolors, your oils, your charcoals, your pencils, your palette, you couldn't resist the urge to paint. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. And for our blessing of learning, ahavat olam, and great love, I'll offer a blessing from a poet, Devin Spear. This is called Ahava Rabbah, based on the morning blessing, but the theme of learning and love still resounds. God who has loved us and does love us, God who has shown us and shows us, God who has grown with us and is still growing with us, help us to hold our ancestors, our community, and ourselves in the seat of your compassion, to not only observe your laws and teachings, but to be understanding with each other, to learn, perform, experiment, struggle, and do. But God, even before we understand what you or our teachers mean, help us to know we can ask questions. We can find refuge for our doubts. We can welcome perfect strangers. We can be gracious to guests and to our own hearts, especially when it or we or the world is just hard. Show us that we can soften. Hold us close by paying attention. Mighty and gentle God, that you listen to us before you understand what we do. For we are not always gracious, merciful, or even upright to others or our own community or land, but we change, and we can learn, and we can pray to try and triumph, teach and trust in your great love. And let this synagogue be a place of learning, where every person's small piece leads to the greatest and most lasting peace, and upon everyone's face shines the oneness of humanity. And God, blessed are you, loving one, who remembers as you forget, who embraces us as we feel pride and shame, who acts with and through us for the goodness of love in a world we are striving to care about, learn from, listen to, and understand. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who loves your people, Israel. We join now together in the words of Shema, the words of oneness of our God, page 152 and 153. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. On page 154, we continue singing together this interpretation of Via Hafta, composed by our friend Julie Silver. Love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise. Bind them for a sign upon your hands, that they may be a symbol between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house, and upon your gates, and upon your gates. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise, and when you rise.
It's hard to believe that Passover is just a few short weeks away. Passover, the official or unofficial marker of spring in our Jewish tradition, in our Jewish year, but it's also a time when we get to recognize and remember our freedom from bondage and this potential for all that was to come on the other side of the Sea of Reeds. And today, as we were just getting through sound check, we spoke briefly about health and about the light at the end of the tunnel. And through this dark clouds of the day, I don't know if where you were there were dark, stormy clouds, but the light was starting to break just as the sun went down. And I just thought that was such a beautiful metaphor for Passover coming and for all that is to come this spring, even though today might have been the coldest day of our winter so far. On page 157, I want to offer this poem before we go into Michamocha. In a world torn by violence and pain, in a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is just one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by the prophets and instructed by sages, time and again, we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping us alive in dark ages. Your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh. Nora tehilot osef eleh. Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Malchutecha ra'u v'necha. Okay, ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Elianu ve'amru. Ze Elianu ve'amru. Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. And as we hold those feelings of redemption and of freedom, we also hold feelings of knowing that the world outside is scary, especially once it gets dark. And each evening we have the opportunity to ask for God's shelter of peace, a sukkot shalom over us, bringing shelter, bringing calmness, bringing comfort through the darkest of our days, and in knowing that we will wake up tomorrow, hopefully, to the sun, to a world a little bit better than the world today. On page 159, this is one of my very, very favorite poems in Mishkan Tefillah as we head into Hashkivenu. Sing the song of men and women, joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
Our prayer for protection can be found on page 160 in Hebrew. I hope you'll sing along with me at home. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chayim. We continue together at the top of page 162, singing a song of joy for the gift of Shabbat rest. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות ברית עולם. On page 164, we begin our tefillah together with words from Psalm 51. Adonai Svatai Tiftach. Open my lips that my mouth might declare your praise. We'll continue independently through page 180 from there as Lisa plays Azamra Lelohai, I Shall Sing to My God. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. La 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 la. Shalom bimroma, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
We take these next few moments in our service to think of all of those in our community and in our world who are in need of a complete and total healing, a refuah shlema. If there is somebody that you are thinking about this Shabbat, please share their name in the chat on Facebook or on YouTube so that their name can be brought into our sacred prayer space. And maybe send them a text to let them know that you're thinking of them on this Shabbat. We spend so much time these days alone, and a text might go a long way for them right now as we're thinking of their healing. This Shabbat, Congregation Kol Ami is thinking about John Altschul, Harris David Auerbach, Sophie Bellsberg, Richard Bernard, Tim Bestenheider, Dabby Blatt, Elaine Blatt, Judy Brink, Bella Browning, Eddie Channon, Nada Chirina, Phyllis Ehrlich, Francine Epstein, Tino Felipe, Bruce French, Ephraim Ingerman, Jeffrey Lehman, Janice Levy, Larry Mendelson, Alan Miller, Jenna Peskin, Laura Rabin, Michael Rand, Tammy Rabowski, Ben Reback, Dora Rodas, Howard Romanoff, Tracy Rosen, Barbara Rubin, Evie Shore, Mike Silverman, Henry Sommerfeld, Rosina Spitzer, Ronald Stoner, Terry Taylor, Juanita Warner, Kathy Weiss, Eitan Wolf, and Ilana Miriam Bat Chava. Eternal One, Merciful One, grant a refuah shlema, a complete, a total, a speedy healing to all of those in our community and around the world who are sick, whether in body, in mind, or of spirit. Grant strength to their caretakers and grant strength through their process so that each of them will come back into our community a little bit stronger tomorrow and in the days to come. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh HaCholim. Blessed are you, Eternal One, who heals the sick.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה רבקה לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing, bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Rachel. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mi sheberach avotenu, mi sheberach imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Shabbat Shalom. Now, many of you tonight are, of course, are watching on Facebook or on YouTube, and for all those of you on social media, if you post things, and if you've done so for some time, you may have had the experience where Facebook or Instagram will show you something you posted precisely 1 year or 2 years ago. Look at this memory. And in fact, this week, the original social media, Torah, did that for me. You see, as I began to prepare my thoughts for this evening, I opened not only my hard copy Tanakh that sits here on my desk, but also I opened my digital filing cabinet, you know, the one that lives here in the cloud. And like many rabbis today, I keep folders for each weekly Torah portion so I can save teachings and sermons from year to year, or I can bookmark an idea about Genesis even if we're in the middle of reading Leviticus. But when I opened my file folder for this week's portion, I realized that in our Hebrew calendar, it has in fact already been a full year with this coronavirus pandemic. Because when the last time this Torah portion came around, I was already speaking to you from here online. Of course, next week marks 1 year since the first Sefer at Home orders here in Los Angeles, according to the secular calendar. And next Wednesday, March 17th, in the evening, we'll gather on Zoom with our community for a night of prayer and reflection at this solemn yahrzeit. But our Torah portion always has a timely message for us, and last year, as we gathered online in this new way for the first time, my files reminded me that I spoke about the very first word that begins this double portion, Vayakhel. Vayakhel Moshe. Moses gathered the entire assembly of the children of Israel. It was indeed an ironic word at the time. Vayakhel, Moses gathered, for obvious reasons. We were just beginning to seek new ways to gather. Tonight, though, the sting of irony has softened a bit for me, as I remember that it's associated with the word kehilah, community, because we have, no doubt, found new ways to gather as a community, just as our ancestors did in their moments of uncertainty so many centuries ago. These portions, Vayakhel Pikudei, that conclude the book of Exodus, are known for the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the place where God's presence comes to dwell. At night, God becomes a pillar of fire, ready to lead the Israelites with light and warmth. By day, God is a mass of cloud, traveling with our ancestors on our wanderings through the wilderness. These portions are also famous for the myriad details of the construction of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. All the gold used to create the ark, and the purple, crimson, and blue yarns for the tapestries. We learn that all of the magnificent details of this sacred dwelling place were skillfully crafted by artisans, made from gifts freely brought by the Israelites themselves. Every person whose spirit so moved them contributed to this construction. And in fact, there were so many contributions that Moses eventually had to ask them to stop because, and I quote, their efforts had been more than enough for all the tasks to be done. This past year, my friends, we too have been engaged in building something new and sacred. We too have found a way to construct our own Mishkan, our own place here in cyberspace. We found ways to strengthen one another through presence online, to bring gifts from our generous spirit as we build this Mishkan, so the presence of our Holy One of Blessing can be with us, continuing to warm our hearts and guide us on our paths through this wilderness. Here at Kol Ami, of course, you know this to be true, because as members of this community, you have offered your time to each other to lead and participate in programs here online, to serve as leaders of committees and task forces. You have reached out to call one another, to care for each other. Just like our ancestors, we have brought our gifts. We have learned new skills. We have given of ourselves willingly and generously, even as we have struggled and yearned for the chance to gather safely in person. So the construction work we have done this year we too can say, I hope, at least at certain moments, that we can feel in our hearts that it has been enough to meet the moment. And it parallels that work that our ancestors did to construct their Mishkan in the desert, their dwelling place for God. But it also parallels another sacred act of creation, the divine work of creating the world itself. You see, one particular midrash, a sacred interpretation of the second of this week's two portions, Pikudei, we find Rabbi Yaakov in the name of Rabbi Asi inquiring about a verse from Psalms. Now, you might recognize this verse because we sing it as part of our Ma Tovu blessing in our morning prayers. Adonai ahavti me'on beitecha umikom mishkan kevodecha. Notice that word mishkan. Eternal One, how I love your temple, the place, the mishkan, where your presence dwells. And so centuries ago, Rabbi Asi asked, Lama, why does the word Mishkan appear here? What is the connection between Mishkan here and the Psalm and the Mishkan with a capital Mem in our Torah portion? And he posits an answer. He says, in fact, the construction of that Mishkan, that earthly place for God's presence to dwell, is parallel to nothing less than the creation of the entire world. Just as God saw all that God had made in Genesis, Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, and God declared it very good, so too in this week's portion does Moses see the work that the Israelites have made, Vayar Moshe et kol hamalacha, and Moses sees it and declares it complete and blesses it. So our tradition teaches through this midrash that the divine search for partnership in creation finally finds its perfect match as our ancestors created the Mishkan. Just as God created the world and placed humanity within it to protect and care for that garden, so one particular group of human beings, our Israelite ancestors, centuries later created a place for God's presence to dwell here, within our world. Just as they responded to the uncertainty of wilderness by bringing forth gifts, by bringing forth skills, by building something new, so too have we responded to the uncertainty of our wilderness by bringing from ourselves, from our gifts and skills, our minds and our words, our presence and our spirit, to build something new. Our actions then have helped recreate our world itself in partnership with each other and in partnership with the source of life flowing within and beyond us at all times. This Shabbat we come to the end of a book of Torah, the end of our book of Exodus. In a few weeks, of course, we will celebrate Passover, but as we conclude this book, we chant the words, Chazak, Chazak, V'nitchazek. Strength, strength, we shall strengthen each other. And so as we conclude the book of Exodus this Shabbat, I have never felt more certain that we will indeed continue to strengthen each other as we go forward, that we will continue to bring our gifts, our skills, that we will continue to build a sacred space wherever we can, however we must, to protect one another, and that we will continue to bring God's very presence in our lives through acts of sacred creation. Ken Yehi Ratzon, so may this be God's will on this Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. It's my pleasure now to welcome, on behalf of our Board of Trustees, Johanna Shore with some announcements and words of welcome.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. I'm Johanna Shore, a member of the Board of Trustees, Congregation Kol Ami. And on behalf of our board, welcome to our online streaming Shabbat. I'd like to share with you some of our upcoming events and activities. You can register online at our website for all of these upcoming programs. So immediately following our services tonight at 7:30, you're invited to a Zoom Oneg Shabbat. The link is on the front page of our website. Tomorrow morning, March 13th at 11 a.m., we're having our Family Shabbat Passover program. This is for families with kids of all ages. Register online as our clergy sing, really dance, and share the Shabbat shake. I assume that's a dance, not a drink. At any rate, on Wednesday, March 17th, join our rabbis and our community in a special evening for the anniversary of the California pandemic lockdown, and the service will start at 6:30. We'll reflect on this unique year we have all experienced together. And Thursday, March 18th at noon, Rabbi Eger will teach her monthly Lunch and Learn online. And that's really a great event. And then don't forget about this program. On Sunday, March 21st, this is Sunday, at 4 p.m., we're going to welcome back Glenn Rosenblum for another of his Broadway showstoppers. And if you haven't joined for any of them yet, this is just a happy way to end the weekend. Please come on, join that one. So to keep up to date on all that's happening at Congregation Kol Ami, please visit our website often because it changes. And you can visit it at kol-ami.org. That's kol-ami.org. And you can register for all of our online programs, and you must register to receive a Zoom link for those Zoom events. And while you're there, please consider a donation to support our sacred community. We rely on your support to offer our wide array of programs and services, and that we bring these to you at no cost. So thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you so much, Johanna. I can assure you that the Shabbos Shake is, in fact, a dance, and it is already stuck in my head. So if you have kids of any age, please come join Rabbi Chaikin and me tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And if you're in your 20s and 30s and looking for a cocktail or mocktail, we have an event at 5:30 tomorrow afternoon. And as Rabbi Chaikin was reflecting on the fact that we have now gone through an entire year, according to the Hebrew dates. The year's a little bit shorter on the Hebrew calendar this year, which we'll talk about another time. But Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the beginning of the month of Nisan, begins this Sunday. And what's, I think, especially interesting tonight, after hearing Rabbi Chaikin's words, is that Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the month of Nisan, is in fact the first month of the Hebrew calendar. So we are starting over. We have a clean slate. And please join me if you are following along on page 379 for a blessing for Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu shetechadesh aleinu et hachodesh haba letova u'livracha v'titen lanu chayim arukim, chayim shel shalom, chayim shel parnasah, chayim shetihiyeh vanu ahavat Torah, v'yirat shamayim, chayim sheyimalenu misha'alot libenu letova. And we say, Amen. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month of Nisan bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Nisan Yehi B'Yom Rishon. The new month of Nisan will begin on Sunday.
We continue and conclude our service, page 589, with Aleinu L'Shabeach. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all may turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Al ken nikaveh Adonai lirot mehera b'tiferet uzecha, litaken olam b'malchut Shaddai. Adonai our God, how soon we hope to behold the perfection of our world, guided by a sacred covenant drawn from human and divine meeting. Our thoughts turn now to those who we are remembering this week on their yard site. This week, our Congregation Kol Ami family is thinking of Oscar Alexander, father of Erwin Alexander, Jerry Premack, beloved member, Morris Levy, father of David Levy, Leland Green, brother of Rose Green, Morton Glenn, father of Wendy Glenn, Ann Feidelman, mother of Dan Feidelman, Gwen Fowler, mother of Stephanie Small, Jerry Billingkoff, partner of Dan Feidelman, Lillian Levant, mother of Roberta Bennett, Elaine Fischel, beloved friend of Ben Reback, Robert Levinson, husband of Sandra Levinson, Bill Leonard, partner of Steve Addison, Jordan Schwartz, cousin of David Levy, Lily Gabriel, grandmother of Victor Gabriel, Leonard Illians, father of David Illians, Ruth Bergen Rothenberg, aunt of Lynn Harrell, Berta Drillman, grandmother of Natalie Bergman, Esther Goldberg, mother of Bernie Goldberg, Barbara Amelia Rollins, great aunt of Evan Rollins, Esther Rose Solomon, mother of Jeffrey Solomon, Jules Selvin, father of Lowell and Hilary Selvin, Lenny Milder, cousin of Johanna Shore, and Isidore Stoll, grandfather of Carol Newman. And this past year, we've been saying Kaddish in memory of Robert Barnett, Israel Irving Margolin, Nina Ross, Michael Finelli, Patricia D'Amico, Leonard Mark Leibovitz, Rabbi Richard Leviton, Murray Levine, Luke Thornton, Chantal Legg Bird, Edward Wolf Salzberg, Lenny Schulman, Rebecca Alexander, Robert Kent, Orlando Castorina, Shirley Glantz, Carol Reback, Andrei Lubchenko, Marcy Anderson Lane, Michael Wood, Lori Glickman, Joan Selvin, Dr. Jean Rogolsky, Patty Weinbar, Adair Faust, Anshel Samuels, Cecile Sommerfeld, Marcia Sherman, Desiderio Pacheco, Ruth Kendall, Margaret Gowari, Jeffrey Blank, Roberto Martinez, Robert Weems, Adele Habibi, Sarah Klein, Francis Schiff, Lynn Ehrlich McCauley, Muriel Steicher, Marie Cecilia Ruvo, Eva Weinberger, Sandra Smith, Jack Ader, Esther Richmond, Mary Wilson, Josh Markowitz, Vincent Gabriel, Steve Boardman, Fred Michaels, Claude Cazzolino, and we note with sadness the death this week of Jeb Stewart Robinson, friend of Glenn Rosenblum and Mark Freeman. If there are others who you would like to add for these words of Kaddish praise, I invite you now to share their names aloud or write them in the comments on Facebook or on YouTube. We join together on page 598, joining in these words that affirm life, even in the face of loss. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'elam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha b'richu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, and help us comfort one another in our times of need. And may we say, Amen. We're going to close tonight on page 652 in Mishkan Tfilah with the words Ani ve'ata. You and I can change the world. And I love this song, but in particular, I'd like to offer this song really as a blessing for us tonight. that we will continue to change the world by bringing the gifts of our heart to one another however we can. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה ננסה מההתחלה. יהיה לנו רע, אין דבר, זה לא נורא. אמרו את זה קודם, לפניי זה לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. We were blessed as we came tonight to gather online. May we be blessed as we go forth for a Shabbat of wholeness, of peace, and of creation. Amen.